Hello VC, this is an entry to Chris Prophe's 200 subs competition. Chris has asked the VC 5 questions to answer. Number 1 being, what is your first musical memory? I was born in 1984 and I was pretty much brought up listening to my mum and dad's music collection like many other kids. My dad was sort of heavily into like the 60s because that was his sort of heyday, and my mum a little bit later, sort of 70s, 80s. And I was sort of, even at a really young age, like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years old, listening to like cassette tapes in the car, mixtapes, um, my mum's mixtapes, and my dad's sort of 60s stuff, like the Hollies, this sort of thing. So it's really hard to pinpoint a particular piece or anything. My dad used to listen to the Hollies. He had this Hollies tape. We used to play it a lot, and he had a few sort of 60s tapes. He had a pretty good compilation which had the Trogs on it and other British bands or British groups on there, and I really liked that. And I can remember asking my dad for the specific tape for my 5th birthday party because I wanted it to play in the hi-fi. Um, so anyway, that's something. Anyway, my mum used to have so many like 45s, sort of even going back to the 50s. I think some of them. One of them I quite liked as a kid was the Ying Tong song by the Goons. The Goons was a sketch show in the UK. Yeah, well, sketch show on either on TV or radio. I think it was radio. And yeah, I think they released a couple of songs, quite sort of comical, really. So sort of it appealed to children. And yeah, she had one or two records which I quite liked. Happy Talk was one of the songs I quite liked. I used to sort of request as a kid to be played on the hi-fi or the record player. Captain Sensible, I think, who did that. And my dad had like stuff off like the Kinks, Waterloo Sunset, Autumn Almanac. Yeah, there's so many songs, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly, but the good fond memories of that time. Your second question, songs which I perform in karaoke. I've done quite a few, not necessarily on my own, but like either with like a mate or a group of mates, and we've done Red Red Wine by UB40. It's quite a popular one, and Robbie Williams' Angels. We've sung, well, I say we've sung. It's more like shouted out whilst being pissed. But yeah, anyway. Number 3, Desert Island albums. It's hard really to sort of say, to answer this really, because would you really want to listen to the same thing on a desert island over and over again? Would you really want to listen to rock over and over again? Would you perhaps want a bit of jazz or something, depending on your mood? But I've picked 3 very good sort of rock albums. Some of them perhaps the best ever made, in my opinion, and I think perhaps many other people's opinion. Oh, definitely like this one. Definitely Maybe by Oasis. This was a groundbreaking debut album of theirs in '94. Yeah, sort of talking about early memories. So I know I'm going back here. But my brother was very much into the modern music scene, and he was really heavily into Oasis, which then got me interested. But I was also interested to like my dad's 60s collection still, which my brother used to ridicule me for, and to be honest, he still does. But yeah, Oasis was very much listened to between me and my brother, and other bands of that nature of that time. I would definitely like to have this uh, on a desert island. Um, Perhaps the best Beatles album ever made. Yeah, definitely like this one, which I'll come back to later on. Pet Sounds, Beach Boys. I would choose this one, most definitely. This is, I think, perhaps one of the best albums ever made. So yeah, I can't seem to tire off this album. It's so good. The harmonies, yeah, I just love it to pieces. Pet Sounds. Anyway, 4, album artwork. Like I said about the Beatles album, it's got a lot going for it. There's no mistaking that. I can pretty much stare at this album art, because you've got all these like celebrities here, and it's just so much going on, and it's all very sort of a mystery to what's actually happening here. I mean, is it a funeral? Is it a burial? It kind of seems very much like it is. We're not going too far into that because that's opening up a whole new can of worms. But yeah, I love this album art. It's quite something. It really is. And albums which have a very good ending track. Tom Petty's debut album. It always kind of mystifies me to why American Girl, which is the last song on here, is at the end. It's a very sort of upbeat song. I believe it was actually a #1 in the US upon its release, I think in 1977, I think. I think it's perhaps it might be his only #1. But anyway, like I said, it's a very sort of upbeat song. It's not a typical song you would perhaps hear at an end of an album. But it's the most commercially successful track on the album. I perhaps would have thought it'd be like track #1, but it isn't. It's at the end. So yeah, it's a great song. Don't get me wrong, but it's not my favourite personally. But I think Forward Again or either Anything That's Rock and Roll is personally my favourite on this particular album. But anyway, there you go. I hope that just about covers it. I hope I haven't rambled on too much. Congratulations on reaching 200 subscribers, and I will see the rest of you on my next video. Bye for now. Cheers then.